2017. Today, Monday, September 25th, and it's now 6:30 p.m. Mr. Longfellow, could you lead us in Old Canada, please?
Old Canada, our home and native land, true patriot love in all thy sons' command, car ton bras s'est porté l'épée, il s'est porté la croix. Ton histoire est une épopée, tes plus brillants exploits. God keep our land glorious and free. Oh, Canada, we stand on guard for thee. Oh, Canada, we stand on guard for thee.
Thank you very much, Joel. Appreciate your attendance once again. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Clerk, are there any addendum or delegation items this evening?
There are none this evening. No additions to the agenda, just the delegations that are already on the agenda.
Thank you. I'd entertain a motion to confirm the agenda. Moved by Councillor Bodner, seconded by Councillor Main. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Are there any disclosures of interest? There being none indicated, please note that, Mr. Clerk. Are there any disclosures of interest this evening? I now call for adoption of the minutes. Moved by Councillor Desmarais, seconded by Councillor Kenny, to adopt the regular meeting minutes of the Committee of the Whole 20-17 held on September 11th, 2017. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Move on to determination of those items requiring separate discussion. Mr. Bodner.
Item 1 and item 5.
Are there any other items by any member of council? There being none, I call for the approval of those items not requiring separate discussion. Moved by Councillor Kenny, seconded by Councillor Desmarais. All those in favor? Opposed? Okay, can I see those hands again, please? All those in favor? Opposed? It's carried. This evening we have a presentation from Mr. Steve Miller and Mark Wilson from Enbridge Gas Distribution and Gary Leffenwatz of the Fire Marshal's Public Safety Council. They're making a presentation to the Port Colborne Fire Department from Project Zero. That's Enbridge Gas. Go ahead, would you come forward, sir? There's a podium here and there's a little red button I'd ask you to press.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome. I'm very proud to be here as a resident of Port Colborne and on behalf of Enbridge Gas to make this very special announcement. We have a long and proud tradition of supporting the communities we serve. This year, Enbridge is donating $100,000 towards Project Zero, a public education program aimed at bringing the number of residential and fire carbon monoxide deaths down to zero. Today, Port Colborne Fire and Emergency Services is one of the 15 fire departments in Ontario that will receive combination smoke and carbon monoxide alarms to be delivered to Ontario homes. At Enbridge, safety is our #1 priority. While natural gas equipment has an excellent safety record, properly educating customers about the importance of installing and testing combination smoke and carbon monoxide alarms is vital. Lastly, I'd like to commend Port Colborne Fire and Emergency Services and the Fire Marshal's Public Safety Council for their dedication to both safety and educating the public in order to bring the number of residential fire and carbon monoxide deaths down to zero. Thank you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, Mayor Maloney, Fire Chief Cartwright, and members of the Fire Service. I am pleased to be here today on behalf of the Fire Marshal's Public Fire Safety Council, along with Enbridge Gas Distribution, in regards to Project Zero. The objective of this campaign is simple: to deliver combination smoke and carbon monoxide alarms to high-risk areas in Ontario, so that if deadly carbon monoxide or smoke is detected, residents will have an early warning they need to safely escape. Smoke and carbon monoxide alarms are critical life safety devices for everyone. Port Colborne Fire and Emergency Services is receiving 186 alarms, valued at over $11,000. Since the launch of the campaign in 2009, Enbridge has contributed over $800,000 to Project Zero, resulting in the distribution of more than 27,000 alarms in 85 Ontario communities. I'd like to thank Enbridge Gas Distribution for its long-term support and commitment to this important initiative. I would also like to congratulate Mayor Maloney, Fire Chief Cartwright, and the Port Colborne Fire and Emergency Service for launching this campaign in their community to help keep residents safe in their homes. Thank you for your time today and for demonstrating your commitment to making this province a safer place to live.
Thank you. Chief, do you want to come forward?
Thank you, Your Worship. If I could, I'd just like to say a few words. First of all, Enbridge and Fire Marshal's Public Safety Council have been very supportive of this fire department and others in the province of Ontario. And I'm going to ask Scott Lawson and my Deputy Chief Mike Bendy to come up for a couple of minutes. We also want to take a photo op for this particular occasion. I also would like to take this opportunity to announce that for the entire month of October, the plan for the fire department in this particular city is that we're going to offer to the residents of this community smoke and carbon monoxide alarms free of charge throughout the community. All you have to do is call our number at the administration at 905-834-4512, and we will make an appointment with you to come and install them. We're not going to hand them out. We have to come and install them for you, make sure your home is fire safe. Together with the donation that we've just received, as well as the financial support we've received from the community over the last number of months since our tragic fire of last year, we're going to move forward with this as best we can. I've got statistics that I'm going to share with Council later on this evening, but nonetheless, we're quite proud of where we are today and where we're moving forward to. So thank you again for your support, Council. You've been very supportive of all of this, and I very much appreciate it. And my staff, if you want to come up for a couple seconds and say a couple words, Scott or Mike, come on up. Scott actually filled out the application form.
Still cramped up. Mr. Mayor, members of the council, senior staff, I'm just very excited that we get this opportunity. We have been a very proactive department in our smoke alarm program. I'm very proud that other municipalities are contacting Port Colborne to see how we're doing to move their programs forward. At the end of October, we are going up to the Ontario Fire Marshals College to speak on our program to approximately another 80 other departments to try to get our program going right across the province. This last thing, if anybody's been watching our social media, I keep talking about community partners. And I think this is a prime example of another one of our community partners, Enbridge, stepping up and helping the community that they service. And thank you very much.
Some pictures. Do you want to get some pictures?
Mike, can you come on forward?
If he's already. You want to grab some pictures? Scott, you go in front of the woman. Come on up, guys.
Yeah. Check.
These are the important ones. Thank you very much. That's great.
I've known him for a while.
Tiger.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Great support for us. Nice seeing you again. Thank you. Very good. Nice seeing you. Very good. We're collecting them back.
At this time, I'd like to call on Alderman Kenny to make the grant presentation to various community organizations from the Hydro Grant. Councillor Kenny will elaborate a little more.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And good evening to everyone. I know a lot of the grant people are here, and that's fantastic. We're here to present this evening several community grants to nonprofit organizations who serve the residents of the city of Port Colborne. You may remember that this was done by Port Colborne Hydro Inc. for many years, and then with the sale of the hydro company and subsequent sale of our fiber company, this responsibility turned back to council. But council did make a very wise decision. I know sometimes you think we don't make so many wise decisions, but we decided to keep our initial investment that we put into this company and put it aside, not to be spent on anything else, but for granting community groups within our city an opportunity to continue their good work with our residents. And so therefore, they come and ask for a grant, we review, and the committee that takes part of that, there are 3 members of council. It's myself, Councillor Andrew Demaray, and Mayor John Maloney, and the 2 members from the public are Gary Bruno and Brenda Hames. In the beginning of the year, in 2017, council set aside $30,000 to be distributed to these groups, and on our first round of applications, we received on January the 31st, we presented 9 grants totaling $21,000. The second round of applications was received by June the 30th, and we're here tonight to present 6 grants totaling $9,000. The next round of applications is for 2018, must be submitted by January 31st, 2018, and the applications and everything are available on our website. So I'd like to ask Councillor Demaray and Mayor Maloney to come and help me give these grants out. Thank you very much for putting in your application, and we want to give back to the community with this money, and the way we do that is by you applying for the grant. So I'll ask Angie to present this one here, Angie, and here's your.
Okay. Thank you, V. Okay. Community Living Port Colborne Wainfleet will be using their grant of $2,450 to provide after-school and evening programs for approximately 30 children in Port Colborne. The focus of the program will be to provide extra support to work on building social skills. I'd like to call up Rita Smith and Vicki Moreland to receive their check. This is a program that's near and dear to my heart, so I really feel good about being able to hand you this check. Thank you for all the work you guys do. Thank you.
Vicki, you want to say a few words, Vicki?
No.
Or Rita?
You said it all. I'll just be repeating what you said here. So
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rita. Thanks.
Thanks.
One more for Angie. Angie, one more. Right here. Oops, sorry. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Friends of Port Colborne Lighthouse. They will be using their grant check of $1,250 to assist with covering the cost of their insurance to run lighthouse tours during canal days. These tours have been very well received by the public, and this group of volunteers is working to gain heritage status from Parks Canada for the Port Colborne Lighthouses. I'd like to call up Erno Rossi to receive the check for the Lighthouse Group.
Marianne.
Erno?
Marianne.
Oh, Marianne's accepting. I'm sorry. Not in my notes. I'm so sorry.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. There you go. Am I done now?
Our next recipient are the Friends of Roseland Center. They'll be getting their grant money of $1,600 to construct an outdoor fernery garden along the west side of the heritage fence on Fielden Avenue. I'd like to call up Pat Bowman, Arlene Lethard, and Lori Pyle to receive the check. Hello, Pat.
Okay. Pat Bowman.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Arlene.
Thank you. You do. Can I say something? Yes, sure.
Yes, thanks. Come on.
Sure.
Might as well. Might as well. Mr. Mayor, council members, and staff, we really appreciate the support of the city to put towards all our efforts, our group efforts, for helping restore and renew the Rose Lawn and bringing it front and center to the public and to tourists and the community. So really appreciate all your help, and we hope to see everyone at our Christmas market November the 12th. So thank you.
And thank you for your participation. You've really done the extra step as far as Rose Lawn go. You've done a lot of great work.
It's a lot of hard work.
There's a lot more to do, too.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Okay. Next we have here is Ymca for Colborne Speech and Language Therapy. And we have Karen Vanderzam to receive the check. Ymca will be using their grant money of $1,000 to provide support for families by offering hippotherapy as a treatment tool for the provision of speech and language intervention. Ladies, thank you very much for your presence here tonight, and this will go to good work, I think.
Yes, thank you.
Sure. Yeah, sure. Thank you.
So good evening, ladies and gentlemen. So on behalf of Ymca and Port Colborne Speech and Language Therapy, we would like to thank the City of Port Colborne and the Grant Committee for such a generous donation towards an innovative treatment tool for individuals with speech and/or language impairments. So the provision of speech-language services in dire need across diagnoses in the age spectrum in the Niagara region. And Ymca is actually the only facility in Canada who offers this. So I'm Shannon Milburn. This is Karen Vanderzam. I'm a speech-language pathologist, and I flew around the world and trained in hippotherapy. Hippo is Greek for horse, so it's basically speech and language intervention on a horse. The horse facilitates neuroconnections that we can't make on our own. So we ran a pilot this summer and had remarkable success. This is for across diagnoses, across the age spectrum. So we're very excited about this grant and being able to launch our full programming in spring 2018. So thank you very much.
The next group is Laurent et Soli. I believe they're here, are they not? Yeah. Perfect, come on up. And they'll be using their grant money of $1,100 to establish a natural playground and intergenerational garden for children participating in the Port Colborne program at École Saint-Joseph, and the members of the La Centre Disney, Port Colborne. And Veronica Emery.
Go ahead.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
This is a board member.
Thank you. I'm Mark,
you.
I'm a board
Mark?
member. Yeah,
Mark,
just
go
a
ahead.
quick thank you. It's going to help out a lot. Currently, we have an asphalt paving and basically caged fence for the kids, and it doesn't really look really attractive, so we're going to naturalize the space and have some games and lawn and beautification area for the kids to play around. So we appreciate all your help. Thank you.
And last but certainly not least, the Ymca of Niagara. And they'll be using their grant money of $1,600 to run a drop-in program one evening a week at a local school in Port Colborne. The Youth Action School program will receive and give Ruth the opportunity to participate in active games, play sports, special events, and more in a safe and supportive environment. And Laurie Brady? Thank you.
Thank you.
There you go.
Which do I?
Oh, you're okay.
I just want to say thank you for your support of this program. On average, 15 kids
youth between the ages of 9 and 14 get to participate in a program at DeWitt Carter and have a good time with physical activity and leadership activities. So thank you very much for your support of our program.
So thank you again to all the groups who came forward, and we certainly are happy to be able to help those groups out who in turn help our residents and our children out in the community. Thanks very much.
Next on the agenda are delegations. We only have one registered this evening, and that is Bob Saraceno, former Mayor Bob, and Doug Hart. They're citizens regarding past unfinished matters that have not been addressed and municipal restructuring. Gentlemen, come forward. You have 10 minutes to make your presentation, if you require it. Welcome.
Boom, 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 boom. You're going to hear me without it.
Welcome, Doug.
That noise is just the reminder that the hunting season is about to begin, and those of us that live along Gravelly Bay will be hearing the gunshots for the first time in the morning, all day, into the dark evening, and they don't stop on Sunday. It's not right to allow hunting in the city and Gravelly Bay. It's surrounded by the city in the water, and it's waterfront. It's south. It's beautiful. I put a petition to the city requesting they stop the hunting in the bay, not just because who lives in Port Colborne, but I said it's got to be stopped. The hunting, in all fairness, has to have a bylaw. If they want to hunt, they have to hunt with permission of the city. And that brings the blinds from the city land. It also has a city with signs that are necessary to stop by enforcing a bylaw. The second thing I raised, and nothing was done, is that the mobile homes and trailers and boats and the trash that is in front of people's homes. It's never been cleaned up. And it's a violation of the bylaws that keeps getting worse, with no action taken by the city. If those people can afford boats, mobile homes, etc., they can afford to pay to store them. If not, the city has lots of vacant land for them rather than making our city look tacky. I don't believe you're going to do anything tonight, but I'd ask you to look at our concerns and think about it to see what, in fact, needs to be done. I was told by Mr. Hansen after this issue, in respect to both issues, that Mr. Hansen told me we don't have a bylaw affecting hunting in the bay. It's an Ottawa decision. I contacted my friends in Ottawa, and one of my friends responded with a bylaw that has been outstanding in this community for years and never used. I took it to Mr. Hansen, and I told him all you got to do is enforce it with the bylaw and put a sign up that you don't hunt here. 2 or 3 signs. I said to him, I'll even pay for the signs, for God's sakes, because you can't have people out there shooting all the time and waking us up first thing in the morning, and the hospital, who knows what that sound gives to them. And then you look at Northland Point, and you get the bang, bang, bang again. What effect has it on them? It's just not right when there is legislation to do it, and it should be enforced. Those are the things that are important. And I say important on the basis that I'd like to take the opportunity to look at the third thing that is a concern to concerned citizens in this community. And a number of us got together and we've talked about a whole list of things that should be brought to City Council that aren't being done. But we'd like to start off with a very experienced, knowledgeable person, the former mayor, former councillor, regional council, who knows the structure of this community and this area very well. I'd like to call on Bob Saraceno to address that concern.
Thank you very much, Doug. I don't think we're going to be getting any grants tonight anyways, Doug. So first of all, I want to thank you, Mr. Mayor, and members of council for continuing with the grant program to those worthwhile organizations. And I'm really pleased to see that that is being continued. So kudos to you all. Staff and members of the public. A committee has been formed, Mr. Mayor, and members, and of which I am part of. And as has been said previously, that we have some issues that we would like to bring to council's attention. And one of the issues that I'm pleased to present, and I'll just read briefly. First of all, that, and this is to members of council, we want to change the number of councillors for each ward from 2 to 1, and change the boundaries of the west side between wards 1 and 3 to Colally Street West, to equalize as much as possible the number of electors in these 2 wards. I want to emphasize that there's no boundary changes with 2 and 4. Those boundaries will remain the same and the electorals will be the same. Ward 3, all electors north of Colally Street West will go to Ward 3. Ward 1, all electors south of Colally Street, including Portal Village and a few adjacent streets, such as part of Steele Street, Field and Brock and what have you, which will be a more balance of electors than is now presently. And the regions, Mr. Mayor, that we would like to bring to council, and it's disturbing to me to have to bring these, truthfully. I've had the pleasure for many years to serve this public, and I will continue to do so. First of all, I want to note the decline in population. Port Colborne, 0.6% decline, the lowest in the region in the past 20 years. And I regret saying that, but it is a statement of fact. And I look at other municipalities, such as Fort Erie, in excess of 30,000 people, 6 elected representatives. I look at Thorold, growing leaps and bounds. I look at Wainfleet. I look at Lincoln, West Lincoln, Grimsby, leaps and bounds, growing. And really, it disturbs me to see a declining in our population. And I noticed in one of the papers earlier this year, start eating your Wheaties, St. Catharines, Port Colborne, and Wainfleet. You know, and it disturbs me to see our population growth going down and down and down. And I just want to say that with the declining of population, we should consider strongly declining in our elected representative. This is not going to change the service. It's the numbers. It's the numbers. I look in Ward 1, 4,449 votes, the electors. Ward 2, 3,300. Ward 3, 5,307. Ward 4, 3,400. And that has steadily been declining, the population, over 20 years. And I say we must reflect upon the times. I look at our industrial assessment, a decline of 6.85%, 4,697,000. I look at multi-res, a decline of 16.39%, 7,574,000. The residential taxpayer are picking up the burden of the taxes. And it's very, very sad, Mr. Mayor and members. And there are a number of other issues, but I know we're sticking to the 10-minute. Councillor Wagner said I had 25 minutes, but I don't believe that. But I just want to bring to council's attention how serious these issues are. With a total declining of population, it's a stagnant growth. And Port Colborne has so much to offer. And when I see these figures coming through, I say to myself, gosh, we got more to offer. So with that in mind, a committee has been formed, which some of the members were unable to attend for a variety of reasons. But we want to bring it to your attention. Ward 1, 4,449 votes. Ward 2, 3,300. 5,300 in Ward 3. 3,400 in Ward 4. If you look at Wards 2 and you look at Wards 3, there's 2,000 vote discrepancy between those votes. So it's not a matter of my ward is bigger than your ward. We're all Port Colborne. We serve everybody. There are no boundaries. But when I see a declining of this, I say to myself, adjustments have to be made. 4 persons on council's not bad. The 5th being the mayor. If it's a 2-2 vote, the mayor breaks the tie, as the mayor has always done. So there's not a problem. You're looking at some dollar savings, yes. But when you're looking at a declining population to reflect the elected representatives, we have to take a strong look at that. And for the past 20 years, the population has taken a dip, 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 dip. Whether it's 1 vote or 106 vote, minuscule or whatever you call it, it's still a declining vote. You're only good in horseshoes close. So I take exception to all of these situations that I've heard around town and what have you. So I ask you, Mr. Mayor and members of council, to give this a very, very serious consideration. I know you have until the end of this year to make any changes, structural or whatnot, that has to go to municipal affairs and housing by the end of December for the ballot, which is coming next fall, October election. So it has to be done. But it has to be done because we can't continually keep taking a hit like this all the time, all the time.
Mr. Saraceno, could I ask you to wind up?
Yep.
There will be some questions from council.
Yeah, sure, okay, I'll wind it up right now, Mr. Mayor. That's it.
Right. Are there any questions from members of council? There being none, I thank you for your presentation, and you've given us food for thought. Thank you very much.
I think so.
And Mr. Hart.
Thank you.
One question?
Yes, Your Worship. I have one question just regarding Mr. Hart's presentation. We have the Director of Engineer, Chris. He said that, Mr. Hart said that he gave that bylaw to the former director in regards to the hunting, and it's my understanding that we don't have jurisdiction over that, but if he says that he brought him that forward to his office, do you know anything about that? Do you have a copy of that, or can you comment on that at all?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Kenny. At this point, no, this is the first I've heard of this, but I can do some investigation and get back with
okay,
a response.
That's great. Thank you. I'd appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you,
Mayor.
Mrs. Kenny. Thank you, Mr. Hart. At this time, I'd move on to the agenda. Mayor's report. The city hosted a retirement event for Jim Allen, who has left the city after 27 years, retiring as the head of IT. We wish to thank Jim for his years of service and wish him the very best in his early retirement years. The city has helped coordinate commemoration ceremonies of the anniversary of the Battle of Britain, which are members of the Air Cadet Corps, Air Force Squadrons, and members of the public were there that night. The mayors of Welland, Wainfley and Pelham, not Welland, joined us on the podium right in front of City Hall here. And the fire chief presented a plaque with the names of former members of the Port Colborne Volunteer Fire Department, who also assisted back in the early 40s the fire brigades in London during the Battle of Britain, the Blitz predominantly. And that will be displayed in the fire station. I also attended a working bee with over 100 senior management employees of Canadian Tire Corporation Financial Services is at the community living on Northland Point or Northland Avenue. It was a hands-on event with volunteers, landscaping, and laying sod, constructing storage sheds, pergolas, and work such as painting and drywalling. It was really made your heart good to have these individuals volunteer their time, and there's no question that the residents will be appreciative of the work that has been completed. And CEO Louis' brother was there leading a delegation, a work delegation. I thought it was like a foreman, I suppose. And he wanted to make sure you were doing a good job, and I said, yes, you were. October is Library Month, and there's quite an itinerary here of events for the library, but they do such good work that I will trust you to bear with me as I go through this. Port Colborne Library will be celebrating creative design workshops with Kyla on October 5th, 12th, 19th, and 26th from 4 to 5 p.m. for ages 7 to 12. The cost is a meager $20 for the 4-week session. Patron Appreciation Day will be sponsored by Sobeys, so drop by your library on Friday, October 20th, and enjoy a delicious piece of cake, most likely a coffee. Storm Chasing is an interesting movie on Wednesday, October 18th, 2 to 3 p.m., and developing a powerful lightning and windstorm. Learn more about a 2015 supercell cloud that cut a path across the Port Colborne area. A very powerful presentation explaining the effects storms have in Ontario, and their free tickets are available at the library. Canadian Library Month, Adult Reading Challenge. Get your fall reading underway with a chance to win some awesome prizes starting October 1st. Reading bingo cards will be available for pickup at the library. Complete just one of the bingo cards and submit it to win. More details on prizes and qualifying books are available soon. And the Ontario Public Library Week contest during the Public Library Week of Monday, October 16th to Saturday, October 21st. Whenever you check out library materials or like us on Facebook, you will see one ballot to enter our draw to win a prize. One prize for ages 12 and younger, one prize for ages 13 to 18, and one prize for 19 and older. Get your craft on. New arts and crafts classes for adults that will begin this fall at the library. Thursday, October 5th, 1:30 will be Scarecrow Silhouettes with Stacy. Cost is $10 for pre-registration, and on Thursday, October 9th, 2:30 p.m., project to be announced with Margaret. Cost will be $10 as well. Please register. And one final note, the Port Colborne Cares food drive. Donations of non-perishable food items will be accepted throughout October at the library to coincide with the actual food drive we have. And we'll have more to come on that. So those are some of the events that especially the library had a whole host, and we hope you'll participate in some of these events. Regional Council report, Mr. Barry is not with us this evening, so we'll forego that one. Council's items, issues, inquiries to be placed to staff. Councilor Danch, Councilor Bodner, Councilor Demery. Go ahead, Councilor Danch.
Thank you, Your Honor. Through you, I think to Chris, I had a little request here. Corner of Knoll and Highland. It's a two-way stop currently, and apparently it's a great idea to come off of Main Street and head either way on Knoll, and sometimes the speeds are a little high. And in that area of Highland and Knoll, it is direct in line with St. John Bosco School, and concerns that maybe some little guys might get hurt. So we could just take a look at that maybe and get a little study on that intersection, and maybe get back to us in a bit if you could, please.
Mr. Lee, do you wish to comment?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councilor Danch. Yes, by all means, we can do that. I'll refer that to staff, and we can look at what traffic counts we may have in that area.
That's it. Mr. Bodner.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I wonder if I might read an email. This is about the Pleasant Beach ongoing saga that we're all familiar with, but this just highlights that it's still ongoing. And some of the things that are going on. So here's an email. Once again, the hapless residents of various fire lanes surrounding Pleasant Beach Road feel that the City of Port Colborne just does not take parking and the redirection of traffic to the public beaches seriously enough to warrant bylaw enforcement personnel to enforce the no parking tollway zones frequently enough. More enforcement is required. To date, literally thousands of dollars have been lost due to the lack of enforcement. Can signage be put up at Mitchin Road saying dead end local traffic only? Someone needs to keep track of the hundreds of motors parking illegally, not only on weekends, but throughout the week, and bring this forward to council to realize the missed opportunities to ticket these scofflaws. We also know the city is not about creating revenue from this problem, but it would be cost recovery. What is the point of signage without proper enforcement? These individuals bring no additional revenue into the city as they carry and cart their day's supplies brought from home, but at a cost to everyone leaving their garbage behind to be looked after by city staff, the city's garbage contractor, and the local residents. It also appears that some residents are very creative, accepting money for parking and directing them to the east of the ditch on Pleasant Beach Road via their driveway, but still on city property. Sorry, I want to highlight that, lost my spot. Okay. If these residents want to, they can park cars on their property, not circumvent the no parking signs by parking on city property. And this is not the property opposite the lodge. Many motorists that the residents are trying to send to Centennial and Nickel Beach have never heard of these beaches and relate that Google has a 5-star rating for Pleasant Beach. Port Colborne can and has to do a better job of advertising these beaches for next summer. As it stands now, the signage for Centennial and Nickel Beach on the corner of Pleasant Beach and Shirkson Road leads nowhere. Follow-up signage is required, including on number 3 highway. Also, why does Port Colborne have parking on a dead-end road when most, if not all other municipalities don't have this, as it just leads to problems? Everyone knows the ongoing fiasco this has created. There is 60 cottages plus Pleasant Beach campground filling this area already. Does Shirkson Shores redirect overflow to the public beaches? Eliminating parking at this road end will help. As an aside, many bring barbecues and cooking on the beach and leaving hot coals that are buried under the sand. Is barbecuing allowed at the road end? This weekend, a tent was set up to the side of the beach by groups using it as a toilet. 2 horses were on the beach this past Sunday, leaving behind a pile of manure that the owners covered with sand. Are there not bags available for horses so their manure is not dropped wherever? As the garbage enclosure comes closer to being built, please consider carefully if and where any parking should be allowed at this road end. Now's the time to solve the problem. So this is from a resident from the Pleasant Beach area. So I'd like Mr. Mayor, there are a few questions in here, and I think the appropriate staff have already got this email, and whether there's comment tonight or if staff could gather the questions out of here. And, I think we've dealt with a number of them. That there might be there certainly is a couple of new ones in here. And I don't know how we want to do this.
Perhaps Mr. Aquilina could comment if he wishes. Mr. Aquilina?
Through Mr. Mayor to Councillor Bondurant, you are correct. I did receive the same email. And it's a pleasure of council as to how you would like to address this. If it's something you would like to receive through a report, then we can partner up with city staff and bring forward a report for council's consideration. There are a lot of details in that email that can be responded to. I'm not sure if tonight council would like to hear the comments or wait for their actual report.
Mr. Binder?
I think if you could answer the questions and bring it to us at the next meeting, I think that would be, I mean, unless council's got another idea, but, you know, certainly there might even be a couple of more questions that come forward, even from council, that you can add to your report that you'll bring to us. I will ask, though, there is still ongoing bylaw enforcement at the end of the road. If you could answer that, please.
Through Mr. Mayor to Councillor Bonder, that is correct. Staff are there every day.
Okay. Do they come just on the weekends? Would they come just once a day, or would they drop back in a few hours to see whether things have increased or decreased?
Through Mr. Mayor, they are there once a day. They're there on the weekends as well. Right. They don't make a habit of going out there twice, once per day.
Okay.
And if they're parking in violation, they also then initiate the towing of the vehicle.
Right. Okay. The one thing we really do have to address, and I know it's in here, and I know you'll talk about it, but it is that signage situation where, you know, if people don't know how to get to Centennial or Cedar Bay, if they do go out and turn left on and come into the city, I'd like to see us investigate how we can get other signs up along the route to say, you know, it's so many kilometers or so many minutes ahead, and then when they actually get to, say, Cedar Bay Road or wherever where they're going, excuse me, actually direct them and tell them that's where Centennial Beach is. So I'll be happy if you actually list those questions and return answers to them. And if you have a couple of solutions for new ones, I'd also like that also.
Thank you, Mr. Bodner. Would it be possible to have that report by the next council meeting from Mr. Aquilina?
Mr. Mayor, I will definitely try to do that. Worst case scenario, I will give council a verbal report.
Very good, thank you. Any other questions, Mrs. Butters?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, in conjunction with this, the enclosure was mentioned, but the enclosure hasn't been built yet, and so I wondered through you to Chris Lee if you can give us a date. I thought it was supposed to be pretty soon after the pad was laid down, so it's kind of disheartening for some of the residents to get to this stage and we still don't have an enclosure. So I'm hoping you're going to give me some really good news.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Butters. The contract has been awarded for the construction of the enclosure. The contractor is just now waiting on his locates and will start shortly.
So does shortly mean within 2 weeks or 30 days, or would you guess?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Butters. I would hope that it would be before the 2-week period is up.
Okay, thank you. And if I could ask one more question. Do we have the legal right to, because we own that road allowance, could we put up like a sign that says beach closed or something along that? Do we have the legal authority to put up a sign way up on Pleasant Beach Road? No, some kind of sign that says, get out of here. Beach closed, road closed, temporary road closed, some such thing that diverts people that don't know any better somewhere else, along with the signage that Ron mentioned to get them over to
I think those comments
Centennial
would be
Beach.
problematic. It's a road allowance that goes right to the lake.
Right.
We have to deal with it as such.
Well, I know if we did a temporary one, it's not as much of a pain in the neck in a public process.
But it has to
Part
be,
of it, right?
It has to be accurate. You know, we have to pay play by the rules of the game.
That would be, no, I'm totally suggesting to play by the rules. Just be creative. Just be creative about it, yes. Think outside the box.
Thank you for your comments.
Thank you.
Councillor Demery.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have 3 items tonight. And first one through you, Mr. Mayor, to Mr. Lee. Chris, could you give me some idea, some estimate for a date of completion for the storm sewer project in East Village?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Demery. The contractor, as per the contract agreement, has to have everything completed by December 30th.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Okay. Next item, I have Councillor Bodnar Beat. See those horses of yours on Pleasant Beach and raise you a couple of goats on Nickel Beach. We have pictures posted this weekend on Facebook, actually, with Nickel Beach with horses, goats, and cars. Now, I don't know who it is that's looking after this, but seriously, it's not working. Because that should not be happening. There's just no question of that. So I wanted to bring that to everyone's attention. They were nice looking goats, but still, you know, if it's, very good. And my third item, oddly enough, with Mr. Saraceno coming forward with his comments on his committee to oversee electoral matters, I was going to ask staff for some kind of input on creating a committee to deal with electoral matters, and I was thinking more for next year when the new year starts, but because I don't know if we have enough time in this year to do that, but just well in advance of the next, not the election coming, but the one after that. With respect to voting options, the ward system in its entirety, councillors, their remuneration, and the number of councillors, the whole package. We did this once before. I think I was on the committee. I was a resident member of the committee. It's probably 12 or 13 years ago, and I know that one council about 5 years ago, it was suggested to council we do it then, and council decided not to. But I think we probably have reached that point again where we should be taking a look at it anyway. I don't know if change is indicated, but we should at least look at it. So I'm just looking for some kind of input from staff. Is this something we should be doing, Mr. CAO?
So through your worship to Councillor Demery, I guess it is timely that we are going into the 2018 election, which is just about a year and a month away. There are deadlines for certain things. So some of the things that Mr. Saraceno himself mentioned are the subject of deadlines, specifically the technology that's used for voting, technology for counting ballots, which we currently do use electronic tabulators at the city, wards, council composition. So whether or not there are wards and how many councillors there are, if it's an at-large election or by ward election, is what council composition is. And of course, you didn't mention it, but referendums or questions on the ballot, as they're called in Ontario, are all things that have to be decided before a certain deadline. The deadline is different for each one. Council compensation, there's no particular deadline on, and I do know that some municipalities have used public committees to help to decide on the amount of compensation that councils should command. One of the reasons for that, I'm sure you've already surmised, is it takes the council out of the deciding how much they earn equation. So what I probably would recommend is that I get a chance to speak to the clerk. She is away this meeting and the next meeting, but I assume that as a staff response to councillor inquiry, we could discuss it generally at the next council meeting that she's at, and then perhaps decide if it should go to a staff report for deeper consideration.
Okay, thank you. That's basically what I wanted to know, to put it on the radar.
Yeah. Thank you. I'm not sure what director is responsible for Nickel Beach. My understanding is that Nickel Beach closed after Labor Day, and in view of the extreme heat that we've been going through, they reopened it was it reopened with supervision?
No, I don't think that. So through your worship to council, Nickel Beach did close in the regular schedule. People can still access it, whether they're going, pardon me? Oh, I think that some people have broken our barricade and actually let themselves in. I will try to get park staff down there to check that out. I know that we heard about it through social media and whatnot. There is, unfortunately, because it's closed, there's nobody securing the beach or checking to see who goes in there or what activity is going on there. So definitely any reports of any kind of activity that shouldn't be taking place, please call by law enforcement or call my office at City Hall. In a pinch, if you can't get a hold of anyone because it's the weekend or after hours, call the dispatch at the yard, and we'll make sure that we get a foreman down there to secure the gate to the beach. But it is an unfortunate, the unseasonable weather did bring people out into places that normally we don't have service at this time of year. So it was a unique situation this past weekend.
Thank you. Now, are there any staff responses to previous councilors' inquiries? Chief Cartwright.
Your Worship, if I could, I've got a number of items I'd like to talk on briefly, as brief as I can this evening, just to make people aware of the fact of what's occurring in the city. I'll start off with issues around fire code enforcement. We've laid a number of charges against both homeowners against multi-residential owners and tenants within those buildings for disabling smoke alarms. Those are either before the courts or in the process of going before the courts. The Project Zero that we talked about earlier this evening has certainly helped us with regards to providing us with a number of carbon monoxide smoke alarms. And there's other groups in the community. The Italian Hall Ladies Auxiliary are holding a tea on October the 15th. It's a Sunday from 1 till 3. It's a fundraising event. There's tickets available through my office and or other places in the city. Tim Hortons Cookie Drive was a huge success as far as I understand, although we haven't heard the final numbers from Tim Hortons, but nonetheless, what we tried to do over the course of that week was man and go to the various Tim Hortons stores to make ourselves available to assist in fire prevention and assisting Tim Hortons staff while they worked within the stores. Some statistics I have this evening to update council, as I try to do on a regular basis with regards to where we stand with our home program. So far, we've gone into 921 homes since early March. We have still 33% compliance rate. We've installed 585 smoke alarms, 127 CO alarms, and 222 carbon monoxide alarms. So you can see that we're still moving forward with this. One of the things that's come to light through evaluating this program is that it seems to us that we're being greeted by people thanking us for coming, waiting for us to show up, and a lot of those homes we're finding don't have smoke alarms. We're asking people to don't wait for us to get to you because you could possibly wait for a while. We'd like you, if you need assistance, to call the office number. Again, I'll repeat it at 905-834-4512. Make an appointment. We are available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to come to your home to assist you in making sure your home is fire safe with regards to smoke and carbon monoxide alarms. And while I'm on that particular topic, I had it brought to my attention by a captain who was at a call on Saturday night, and we seem to have some unwanted competition in the community. We have door-to-door people offering free home inspections, and they're quite forceful with regards to wanting to get in. They continue to knock on doors, and again, this was on Facebook over the weekend. I contacted our media relations person, and she put it on Facebook on our city's website to warn people about what's going on. She did that on Sunday for me. I very much appreciate that. But just to kind of forewarn the community, you do not have to let these people in. When we come to your door, we're clearly identified. We wear our fire department clothing, our fire department identification, and if you look outside, you'll see a fire vehicle parked outside. So there is a difference between the two. And we very much appreciate the cooperation of the public to try to turn those people away because, quite frankly, we don't know really what their real cause is. So we want to warn the people in the community of that. The door-to-door inspection program, we're ramping that up, as I mentioned earlier, in the month of October. The door-to-door fire safety program is being ramped up for the month of October. Every Tuesday night and when at all possible in the daytime for our volunteers and full-time, we're going to be going door-to-door, clearly identified and coming in and offering you smoke and carbon monoxide alarms at no cost. We're hoping that we won't be taken, somebody won't try to take advantage of us. it's in our community. We're offering this for the city. And believe it or not, we've had a number of people come from other communities wanting us to provide them with free smoke and carbon monoxide alarms over the last 6 months, which we don't do, but we will charge them. We'll let them buy them off us. So there's a lot of things in play here, and there's one or two other things I'd like to just talk to briefly about. I've been in contact since our fatal fire last year. Global Television has been doing a lot of work behind the scenes with regards to the roles and responsibilities of the fire service in the province of Ontario, the Liberal government's governance in the province of Ontario. Across Canada, they've been looking at smoke and carbon monoxide alarms. They've done polls across Canada. One of the bugs I put in their ear, and they've asked the question when they were doing the polls across Canada. I believe, and others agree similar to what I do, that one of the key things could be, yes, we have a law that says you got to have carbon monoxide and smoke alarms in your home, but it's the enforcement falls to the municipality. And you people certainly know, and hopefully most of the residents understand, we're limited to the ability to be able to enforce those rules, and they become very much complicated when you start going to court. So one of the suggestions I made, and Global made it part of their questions, I think we got to try to crank it up by saying to the insurers, why don't you make it, if you don't have a carbon monoxide and smoke alarm in your home and you have a fire, we're not going to cover you. Make that part of the contract. So lo and behold, apparently their question was asked, and a large majority of the people they asked were in favor of that. So that's one of the things that I'm going to propose, and I just want to make council aware of the fact that I've been asked to do an in-depth interview with Global Television. I'm going there Thursday morning in Toronto to talk about fire safety in the province of Ontario. And I've been working with a gentleman, Mr. Hill from Global, and he's been kind of the guy that spearheaded this. He's a producer with them. And they've interviewed other fire chiefs. They were in Hamilton, and they went with the fire department when they went door to door with smoke alarms, installing them, and they actually had camera crews on it. So I'm expecting this program to be relatively long, maybe a 30-minute program they're going to provide to their TV viewers. So when that information becomes available to me, I'll certainly make sure that you're made aware of when that's going to occur. The only other thing I've got left to remind everybody is we have our annual open house on the 14th of October from 10 till 2. And there's another thing that's going to take place during the course of that. And I'm going to turn it over to Chris Lee, because I think he has an announcement that he would like to talk about now. So if I could, Chris.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, and the rest of council. What we're planning on the same day that the chief is having his open house is to do the open house for the operations center, which will be same time frame from 10 until 2 on October the 14th. Staff will be conducting group tours for individuals that want to have a look at the new facility that they've just built for us. We're all very, very proud. The staff is very excited about the opportunity to show off their new home. We'll be able to answer questions that any of the public has that are visiting, and they'll be allowed to view the facilities and the equipment and get an idea of what they've invested in, and to see how great a facility it really has become.
Thank you. Any other inquiries or responses to questions? Thank you. Mr. Wagner?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just through to Chris, I think I know the answer to this, but you'll be advertising that in a bunch of different medias or something?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councilor Wagner. Actually, yes, I was remiss. I should have stated that we'll be working with the social media group with the city. It'll be on the website. So we'll get that message out there as far and wide as we can.
Thank you.
No further questions or discussion. We'll move on to the agenda. Consideration of items requiring separate discussion. Mr. Wagner, you're on with item number 1.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Engineering and Operations, Engineering Division Report number 2017-144, subject Young and Hoff-Wagner Municipal Drains.
Is there a seconder for the recommendation? Councillor Butters? Comments or discussion? Questions? Mr. Wagner.
Thank you. I just wanted to highlight this because if you read the report, it's it kind of started in 1989. And for a lot of reasons, some good and some maybe not so good, we're here today, and it's hopefully council support moving it forward to the next level. These municipal drains are a big deal to people that, you know, especially the farming community that has, you know, crops that they depend on not being flooded, and people even that, you know, are threatened by high water levels. So it's good to see this going forward. Just like to ask a question to Mr. Mayor, through you to Chris. Chris, Angie was talking about storm sewers on the east side, and you can correct me if I'm wrong. My thought process on storm sewers is they're just a big drain that happens to be covered and out of sight. Is that too simplistic? Is that, does it do the same job? And how are storm sewers paid for?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Bodner. I wouldn't use the term simplistic, but essentially they are one and the same. We actually have 2 municipal drains in the urban area that still have status, and they provide drainage for one of them provides drainage for the Clark, Humboldt, and Wellington area, and then the other one actually provides drainage for the Eagle Marsh, which is all of the subdivisions that are north of Lakeshore Road and west of Rosemount. So all those new subdivisions in there all drain into the Eagle Marsh. So they are part and parcel of those municipal drains and those watersheds. As far as costing is concerned, obviously when you pipe it in, it's much more cost prohibitive. But the municipal drain and the municipal drains under the Municipal Drain Act can be both in urban and rural settings. So essentially they're one and the same. Okay. So the storm sewer, the charge for the storm sewer, does it go on to municipal taxes? Is it part of the, does every one of the municipalities pay for storm sewers? Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Bodner. Currently, the way the policy sits with the city and is directed by council, any storm sewer projects that are undertaken within the urban area are done from funds from the general levy, and in the case of the Nickel project, for instance, it has federal and provincial grant funds that are also associated with it. But the general levy is actually supporting the city's share of that equation, so that comes out of the general tax base. With regards to municipal drains, that's not the case, because municipal drains, as you, if you've had the opportunity to go through the report that's been attached to this document, it actually shows the breakdown on the individual properties and the costs that they bear, specific depending on their benefit to the works. Sure. So this is just a long way to get around to what I've been beating the drum for since I got on council, that, you know, people that have a municipal drain, they have to pay for that. And you'll see in here, if you look through that schedule, there's people that'll pay up to $9,000, and then they'll have to ongoing pay for any maintenance on that drain too. Where storm sewer is basically on everybody's taxes, including the people that are paying for the municipal drain. So, and I know in some communities, and we had that discussion, and you know, we're still having that discussion, should there be a surcharge put on when a storm sewer is built or repaired in an area of the city to the people that actually use it. I think that's only fair when you're looking at people that do the municipal drains. So anyways, just a way that anytime I get to mention that, I'm going to take that opportunity, and sorry for putting you through it, but that's, you know, that's my option, and I exercised it. So no more questions, Mr. Mayor, on that one. No, thanks.
Thank you. Any other questions on this issue? There being none, go for a vote on the recommendation. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. The final item is item number 5, is also yours, Mr. Bodner.
Thank you.
Is there a seconder for the recommendation? Councilor Danich. Comment, inquiries?
Sure. I'll read the Community and Corporate Services, Community Services Division Report number 2017-88, subject request to amend the terms of reference for the Canal Days Advisory Committee. Can I go ahead, Mr. Mayor? Thank you. So I know...
Do we have a seconder for that first?
No.
Councilor Butters?
We got Frank already.
We got Frank, okay.
Okay, yeah.
Go ahead.
So I guess I just have a couple of questions on here that certainly have been brought forward to me. We do have, I think an email was sent around, everybody's seen what that terms of reference, how it differs from the other. And I guess for the most part, when we tried to do this the last time, I certainly was against it. And this time, it seems to be maybe a little closer to what we would want. But I guess one of the things that come to mind is that you'll see the voting structure there. And I believe it's 4 community members and 2 councilors, right? So the question that I have, and I've been asked, is where's council's control in that? Somebody could, for lack of a better term, hijack that committee and take it in whatever direction they want. If they had 4 members that were elected on there, council would have 2 votes. And, so how does this, how are we safeguarding the amount of money and everything spent on that committee? So Mr. CAO or whoever can answer that.
Mrs. Murdoch, do you want to move forward?
I can start, and then we can see if it gets to...
Yes.
So through your worship to Councillor Bodner, and I do apologize. Gina Murdoch is in attendance. I told you that she couldn't make it, but she tricked me, and she's here. I guess I can talk from a governance perspective, and maybe if you want to get to a level of detail, maybe Gina could come to the podium of municipal administration, or I guess council administration, that when you delegate your authority as a council, you delegate all of your authority. I mean, we have a variety of subcommittees of council, or I guess ABCs, agencies, boards and commissions, Environmental Advisory Committee, Canal Day, Social Determinants of Health, Economic Development Advisory, and so on, that are meant to act in an advisory capacity to council. And this one is as well, acting in an advisory capacity. Canal Days is, to an extent, subsidized through the tax levy. It is it generates some of its own revenue through budgets, but also operates on city funds. And I think council will continue to control those purse strings through reports that come to council, through the budgeted amount that's given to council. The advisory committee could, say for example, book the entertainment for the year, but they couldn't operate outside of the budget that's already established by council. The idea of having 2 council members on the committee is that there's that direct link back to this room, back to this table, and that kind of oversight. But I really feel like at the end of the day, and the operative word in Canal Days Advisory Committee is advisory. And it's meant that that group of 9 people, acts in an advisory capacity to council, that they're not given carte blanche to do whatever activities they want to do without sort of without the council input. And by council input, I don't mean just the 2 members of the committee. I mean the 9 members of council that set the policy, set the direction, establish the budget, and then control the purse strings. And of course, there's the staff interface as well. So I do know that council, and it's not very much different than the old committee, because I think there were more voting members than council members then too, if I'm not mistaken. But I think council will have that in their back pocket, that there's sort of that control in place. like I said, slippery slope, delegating authority of council to somebody who's not necessarily accountable to council, except when the appointment time comes back around. So I'm not sure if there's anything more specific that maybe Gina could help with, but I'll leave it at that.
Mr. Button?
Mr. Mayor, I'm satisfied with that. It's, you know, a change always should bring up some questions, and I think that's one of the questions that, so anything that's decided there, council is going to have the final say on. And I haven't seen any evidence of that whatsoever. That I chaired that committee for the last half of the season anyways, and I haven't seen that in that committee at any time. And my fear was changing this also would be that the people that are invested in those unique things like the kite show, the car show, there's a craft show, there's a number of different things that are well run by individuals, but they have now lost their vote on this committee. But it didn't seem in the end, I was quite concerned about that, it didn't seem to be a make it or break it. They'll still be there with ideas and everything. It's just that they don't have a vote. So I guess I'm somewhat satisfied that, you know, that this certainly will be. And I think it'll also take some pressure off of staff where a number of the staff members don't have to be there at all times. So that's a good thing. So I just wanted to have that discussion just to see whether everybody was happy with what they've seen here.
Councilor Demray.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you, Councilor Bodnar, I agree with everything you just said. And as a councilor, I've sat on that committee for, this is year 7, and as a member at large 10 years before that. So it's been a long time coming to get this terms of reference together. I like the changes, and I don't really think this takes away from the sanctioned events. I think it actually enhances them, because now they know that they're still in charge of their piece of the pie, and this takes all the rest of the work and puts it on another body of people to make sure that all those pieces come together and it creates a great event. So I think it's a very, very good change, and if it doesn't work, we can always change it again. But I really do think it will go well. I support it fully.
Councilor Kenny.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to our CEO. When will these be implemented?
So we talked about that. Through your worship to Councilor Kenny, I did have a meeting with Peter and Gina to talk about that, and maybe if you could just yell it out from your seat, Gina. October? You're losing your voice? Okay. We did want to get it through council first. We were sort of working backwards from a date that we wanted to have everything in place so that we could start the November Canal Days committee meetings and get going with things like booking entertainment. And really, because it's the 40th anniversary of Canal Days, we all know that, but I'll say it again for cheap publicity. Because we want to take an extra good run at it and have as much time going up. So we worked backwards from that November date to this council meeting to make sure that we could have a Canal Days committee meeting in time to ratify council's. The council's the one who approves this, not the committee themselves, but they can get the ball rolling. So October, we're having a meeting on the 2nd or 3rd Wednesday of October. I think because of Thanksgiving, it's the 3rd Wednesday.
Councilor Kenny.
Just one more. So then one of the councillors will resign?
Through your worship to Councilor Kenny, that's why we wanted to have one more council meeting in between, is so that council could approve the new composition of the committee. And so in the absence of the clerk, we're going to try to get an advertisement done right away. It's going to be a pretty quick turnaround for the public members as well as the council members. And a report will come to closed session for the council, for the public members, and then open session for the council member and the new public members.
Thank you.
Any other comments, questions? I just have a question on the competition, or the composition of the new board. It says 2 members from each local BIA. Is that 2 people or is it 4 people?
Through your worship, that is, I understand that's worded confusingly. It is a total of 2. It is meant to say 1 from each BIA for a total of 2 BIA members. That's why I misspoke between 7 and 9. on the clerk's authority, I can make that correction without an amendment as a typo. So I can fix that if council approves it tonight.
And I have a question for Mr. Danch. Is the North End BIA still functional? Sure. Yes.
We just put a clock on Main Street.
I don't want to get into that.
Yeah, we're certainly working on that.
It's still functional?
Absolutely.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? There being none, call for a vote on the recommendation. All those in favor? Opposed? It's carried. That would conclude those items for discussion. Are there any notices of motion? There being none, I'd call for a motion of adjournment. Moved by Councilor Danch, seconded by Councilor Kenny. Meeting is adjourned. At this time, I'd like to go into the regular meeting of council. Somewhere I have a sheet. Regular meeting of council 29-17. Today, Monday, September 25th, following the committee of the whole. I call that meeting to order. Are there any addendum items, Mr. Clerk?
There are none, Your Worship. I will note that the closed session was completed prior to the 6:30 start time of Committee of the Whole, so we will not need to go into closed session. Item 13.
Thank you. I call for a motion to confirm the agenda. Moved by Councilor Kenny, second by Councilor Demray. All those in favor? Can I see those hands again, please? Councilor Kenny, are you opposed? You're good? Okay, it's carried. Are there any disclosures of interest tonight? I call for a motion to adopt minutes. Special Committee of Council 2617 held on September 11th, 2017, and B, the regular meeting of Council 2717 held on September 11th, 2017. Treat them as a block. All those in favor? Moved by Councilor Kenny, second by Councilor Demray. Opposed? Carried. Determination of items requiring separate discussion. I'm going to take that there are none. So we call for approval of those items not requiring separate discussion. Moved by Councilor Kenny, second by Councilor Demray. All those in favor? Carried. Proclamations, Madam Clerk. Mr. Clerk.
Sure, thank you.
English as a second language.
Thank you, I think. Proclamation for English as a Second Language Week from October to 29th to November 4th, 2017. I need a mover and a seconder and the vote.
Moved by Councilor Kenny, seconded by Councilor Maine. All those in favor? It's carried. Minutes of boards, commissions, and committees. There's the minutes of the East Village Neighborhood Improvement Task Force meeting of July 24th, 2017. Call for a motion to approve those. Councilor Maine, second by Councilor Demray. All those in favor? Opposed? It's carried. Consideration of bylaws. Mr. Clerk.
That the following bylaws be now read and passed on September 25th, 2017. Bylaw 65178417, being a bylaw to authorize entering into a funding agreement in respect of financial contribution by the Ontario Ministry of Agriculture, Food and Rural Affairs as specified in report number 2017-149. Bylaw 65188517, being a bylaw to amend bylaw number 4310-14602, a bylaw prescribing on and off-street parking for persons with disabilities within the city of Port Colborne. Bylaw 65198617, being a bylaw to adopt an amended terms of reference for the Canal Days Advisory Committee. And finally, bylaw 65208717, being a bylaw to adopt, ratify, and confirm the proceedings of the council of the the corporation of the city of Port Colborne at its special and regular meetings of September 25th, 2017.
Thank you. We're moving for that bylaw, those bylaws en bloc. Moved by Councilor Kenny, second by Councilor Maine. All those in favor? Opposed? It's carried.
Do you have
Yes, we have an announcement.
Well, one announcement that was missed earlier today is that this Saturday, September 30th. Saturday? Yeah, Saturday. Saturday, September 30th, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. in the Market Square 7th Annual Harvest Fest. There will be a corn maze, inflatables, free children's crafts, a fire truck there, family photo booth sponsored by Bogio Pharmacy, which will be free with a non-perishable food donation, music by Cameron Lee, as well as a classic car display, and bikes are welcome at the event. It will be a bike-friendly event put on by the Port Colborne Downtown BIA.
This is clarification. Is that just the Market Square or is it throughout the downtown core? Throughout. Okay, so the announcement is throughout the downtown core that's centered in the Market Square. Okay, there being no further business this evening, I call for a motion of adjournment. Moved by Councilor Dance, second by Councilor Bodner. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you for your presence here this evening.
Certainly.
Meeting adjourned.